we can tell somebody we're in multiple offers if our client says we can?
Yes. I know that.
Yes, I thought I was teaching something to you. My question is, if somebody calls and says, do you have any offers, we can't really answer that either.
If the seller hasn't given you permission to say that.
And that just occurred to me. I get up at 5 now, so I think more.
That's scary. Isn't that scary to you? That he?
Can you tell a appraiser if you had multiple offers?
Did the seller give you permission?
Looking from now on, you did. They did.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Yes.
that way you're
I
just
think
talking
that
about-
when you ask, what we hopefully are training people is on a listing appointment to talk to the seller about the possibility of future multiple offers. And that would be the seller's choice, as you know, to tell all or none. And so what you would say is, you know, Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller, there's a possibility that we will get multiple offers on your property. It's your decision whether we tell all of the agents, and you could say, and appraisers, that there are multiple offers, or we tell no one there are multiple offers. What would you have us do? Most sellers would say, what are the pros and cons? And then you say, well, the pros would be that a buyer who has been afraid because they've lost several houses in a multiple offer situation might have some confidence that this was going to be their deal since we didn't tell them. The con is that it will make all of the real estate agents mad when they find out. And that's something I'll have to deal with, Mr. Seller, not you. So then they tell you whatever their preference is. I would tell you that I would lean towards tell all, not tell none, but that was still, it's the seller's choice. And remember that you don't tell, even if it's your best bud that you're sitting next to in this room, you don't tell them any of the terms, any of the conditions, anything, the price, nothing. All you say is they exist or they don't exist. That's it. Because if you tell them any one fact about the contract, you have to tell them every fact. You have to tell every agent every fact about every offer. Which one are you going to leave something out on and get in trouble about? That's my concern. That's why we don't tell anybody anything. So I would just add that. And then what I would do, hopefully, is when I got home or the next day or whenever I'm doing work on the computer, I would email the seller and say, just confirming that last night in our discussion we talked about whether or not we would tell no agents about multiple offers or all agents about multiple offers, and I understood you to say let's tell them all. Is that correct? And guess what? Then you got a paper trail that you said that. And you could say, and appraisers if you wanted to.
And that came up in my mind because I may or may not have been in a multiple offer situation, and I couldn't convey that if I were. So. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to tell you that I expect that the lion's share of the license holders operating in your marketplace don't know that it's the seller's decision. They make that decision. And that's wrong. They just make that decision. They say, well, that's what we're supposed to do, so that's what we're going to do.
Okay, so let's just bring that out then. So you go, they're in multiple offers, we can't tell because that's what the seller has decided. And now I go and I say, you know, we're going to accept your offer. And then we've declined your offer, or we have to say, well, we had another offer.
We declined your offer. Seller has declined your offer. You know, there's that form, Texas Realtors 1926. Invitation. This is not a counteroffer, but we might take your offer if you did this, and you iterate whatever it is for each one and send that back to everybody. And that's the written version of give me your highest and best, you know. But it's not it's important that you use that form because it says this is not a counteroffer, because you don't want to be seller countering, you know. If you're representing a seller, you always want the seller to be the last one to sign in initial stuff. In case one comes in at the last minute, that's like the best you've ever seen. And you got to be real careful about your language through all of that. You never say to the other side, your deal's the deal, ever. is say the seller, I believe, may sign your offer today. I'm not sure. We've paid earnest money and all kinds of things out to get ourselves out of potential litigation for someone letting their mouth overload themselves in that situation. Don't want to do that again. In fact, we sold a duplex to 2 people once and they didn't want to live together. Yeah, I guess. But we had to unwind that because the agent, well, it was a long story, but there was a bunch of time in between the first offer that the agent said, our buyer's not going to do this, and then the buyer decided to do this. We never pulled back our counteroffer. And so, meanwhile, we took the agent at their word, the buyer's not going to do this. We took another offer. And meanwhile, these people, a week, 10 days later, said, okay, we'll do that. They signed and initially delivered it to us in title and with the earnest money. And now we've got 2 buyers under contract for.
Pull back a counteroffer that's been executed.
Texas Realtors has a form for that. Or you could say in an email to the buyer's agent, my seller has directed me to withdraw their counteroffer as of January the 28th, 2020 at 10:35 a.m. Please consider this your notice that all counteroffers are withdrawn. You saw that. You said it twice and you gave a specific time and date. Because that.
We also send them a termination.
No, because it's not a contract, it's still an offer.
And I thought I haven't answered that long, but that was good. And that was good.
It's just, you say one thing to me and I think of 27 others I need to say. Okay, so on Friday I'm making a little talk down in San Antonio and I've come up with, I'm not going to say all of these, I don't have time for this because it's a 40-minute talk and I don't have that much time. I have 15 things that, questions I've gotten and things that y'all have told me that I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm sorry.
Sorry.
So anyway, one of them is instructive. I will tell you that the Real Estate Commission at their February meeting, I think, is going to grapple with maybe, I don't know if Broker Large sent it to them or not, but they're talking about having option money treated in the TREC contract the way it's treated in the Texas Realtors commercial contract, where they have an amount of earnest money and a portion of that is option money and will be withheld from the release of earnest money if the thing goes south. I don't know if that's going to happen, but that discussion is ongoing, and I'll keep you posted on that.
What's the advantage of that?
Not having to tender option money separately. So this has happened several times. In fact, we may have even had somebody bring this up in this room in the last couple of weeks, but this keeps happening. We had a seller. The buyer became fully executed. The deal was done. And the time is clicking for the earnest money and option money to be tendered. It is, neither are tendered, neither time has passed yet. And the buyer's agent says, my buyer's walking away, thank you, it was nice to almost work with you. And our agent called me and said, did they have the right to back out? And I said, let me be clear that I understood what you said. They never tendered option money. Is that correct? That's correct. No, they don't have a right to back out. So they have until their time is up on the option money to tender that option money, or they will be in default of this contract. And the seller could take all the remedies available to them in the default paragraph. The agent, oh, by the way, the agent on the other side had asked their broker what to do, and their broker told them to do what they did, and told them they didn't have to tender because their time hadn't run yet, so they didn't have to tender option money. And I suggested that in the reply to the agent that they give them my name and phone number and ask that broker to call me. Berkshire Hathaway. I didn't say that out loud. Just saying. Y'all, everybody saw what was wrong in that, right? You get that. And our agent got it too. You just question yourself sometimes when somebody is adamantly on the other side saying this, and you go, is that right? You know, and sometimes it is and sometimes it's not. Yes, ma'am.
But on something like that, it's very difficult because if the seller says, I'm going to sue them,
Uh-huh.
they're going to have to hire an attorney.
Yeah, yeah.
It's going to cost them thousands and thousands of dollars.
Yep.
It's going to wrap up their house
Yep.
for God knows how long.
Yep.
So, you know, I think that's where I struggle with these contracts because the contract is really sometimes not worth the paper it's written on because anybody can hire an attorney. It's going to cost you a whole lot more than what you're going to ever get out of it, probably. And what's, you know, the purpose of that? What is that end game at that point?
Well, the end game is for everybody to play by the rules.
Right.
And you know, if you doing what I didn't even ask this question, how much option money was there offered and agreed to, but usually it's a very nominal amount of money. I mean, and she's right. Very rarely is any seller going to fight about that. However, do you want to take the chance that you don't have the seller that will take issue with that? Because if you, you know, some of you, I tell you about these things sometimes so that you understand how onerous this is. I think I told you guys this just late in 2019. We mediated the end of a 4-year lawsuit over property condition, a supposedly undisclosed property condition. We were in mediation all day long in downtown Austin, where the attorneys for the plaintiff talked about how ugly and evil and that our agent wears combat boots, you know, whatever, all kinds of bad stuff, and made her feel about this big. She really, I'm not sure she did anything wrong. She had her car broken into, and her files, a box of files was stolen out of her car. The file on this property was in it. So the piece of paper that we needed to prove something, we didn't have. So that's why we ended up being in this place. So this tells you how long ago this goes back, because now everything's online, all this other stuff. But this was, so it was like a year or two before they filed the lawsuit, and then we were 4 years. You think of all the things, you know, this is hanging over your head all that time. So you don't want to fight about option money, just pay the damn option money, pardon me for that language, and get out of that deal, because you'll find somebody crazy enough to bring a suit on something. And so here we go through all this time, and what happens in a lawsuit is a whole lot of stuff, and then nothing, and then a whole lot of stuff, and then nothing for years. It's over. Our E&O company paid a lot of money. They would not have had to pay as much money if how can you protect yourself from your car being broken into and files being stolen? I don't know, but that's what happened. And it was something she hadn't uploaded into .loop. It was a receipt for some repairs that she had a copy of. Couldn't find the contractor, you know, all that kind of stuff. So anyway, ugly story. Happened, just did it, just ended it. In November. Yep. So Rita, yes, you're absolutely right. 99% of the time, that's the way it's going to play out. And 1% of the time, we end up in that place. I don't want you to end up in that place. That's why I keep lecturing you about doing it right all the time. Doing your best to do it.
Other agencies are not so, they're so lax about it because they know the odds of it happening
Yep.
are slim and none.
Yep, but it'll happen to somebody. So anyway, that was
Those moments because they don't have a broker like we do.
Exactly.
Do you?
evil broker. Oh, I think we've talked about this one so long. This one's one I'm going to talk about on Friday. It said in MLS that there was a refrigerator, so we assumed it stayed. Assumed, yes. Well, y'all know that's not true. And you know, if you want some of that stuff that's removable, that you put it either on a non-realty items form or on a bill of sale. Yeah, I'll talk about it more on Friday than I'm going to talk here. They told me there was a green belt behind their property. And now they're building something there after we closed. Never. Well, and when I used Judy Shanklin, for those of you that remember her, I used Judy's words, the only green belt that really exists is the one around your waist. Never trust that. Yes, sir.
So in the MLS, you don't put green belt you
No.
just put view or? Because some people search for a property based on a view or a green belt or.
Do you
something that
have-
says no.
Do you have a writing from a title company or a surveyor that nothing will ever be built behind you?
Right,
Do you have that?
no.
Okay, then don't say it.
That's what I'm asking, what do you put in the MLS, because you
Well,
want
you
to
can
advertise.
get, if it's true greenbelt, you can get that.
Well, I mean, if you can find that information, if you can get that, you get a survey, you can get something of writing from the title company or somebody that there is a dedicated easement of some sort for a park or a biking trail or whatever it is back there, you could certainly say that. But you need that proof before you say that, because this is one of those, there's nothing back there, so I assume there's nothing ever going to be back there. You know, we had a guy up in Gerald that never sued us but threatened us. He was buying one of the first houses for sale in a subdivision. You know, and there's all the streets, the curbs and gutters and the street lights and all this stuff, but there's no houses around him. And somebody built on the lot behind him. And his demand letter was because we sold him a house on a lot, and he didn't think there would ever be anything behind him, and they have lights in their backyard and they disturb him. Now, nothing ever came of that, but that's how ridiculous this can get. I mean, because, you know, we made 1 or 2 truck payments on our attorney's truck, and it's okay, I like him. But it was unnecessary, because who exactly in their own mind drives around in a subdivision with platted lots and doesn't think there's going to be a house behind them and on either side of them? So that's the same to me. I would just be getting any kind of proof, and I understand what you're saying, and I know people do it all the time, and yes, it's another one of those chance I know you get in trouble or not, but if you've got something, a writing that this is a dedicated, granted to the city, whatever it is, back here for a park, you're probably okay to say that. I just be careful.
Better than say according to the city.
Yeah. We've talked about this too, more than we touch. She called and said she wanted a list. When I got there, she told me her husband had died a month ago. What was I supposed to do? I listed the house. Okay, everybody, you been there, done that? Okay. That's another one of those things where your title company's your best friend. Call them and ask them if they can find anything of record about probate being done, because you are not going to close this if that hadn't happened. And it can take months. The last one we had took 7 months.
Sometimes you can do affidavits of heirship.
Sometimes you can. Yes, sir.
I think the listing so you could advise them.
That's right. You could, yeah. But-
Just real quick on that one, mine happened recently, and I knew better. However, my clients were from New York, totally different laws. She had told me they were talking to attorneys. We had to wait 90 days. So I'm like, okay, y'all are going through probate. Okay, no big deal. Well, come to find out, they were talking to a different kind of attorney, a financial attorney. They had like something they were clearing up. So then come to find out, you know, if I just would have said one more sentence, oh, so you're talking to
The probate attorney.
Instead of saying that in my mind, if I just would have said it verbally, we would have cleared it up. But no, that just happened to me recently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had one in Bell County that our agent waited 2 years, didn't list it. It took 2 years for the judge to give the seller the authority to act. And then as it turns out, the judge was wrong, and there was another error that they missed. And that took another 7 months to clear up.
So we have, what I've encountered several times in the last couple of years is the one spouse has died, but the other one is in the memory care unit and is not competent
Yeah.
to fill out a
Oh, yeah.
self-disclosure.
Yeah. Yep. Yep, because whoever's the heirs, if they have any kind of authority granted by a judge, need to tell whatever they know about the house. I
We
mean,
have a lot of unknowns on the disclosure.
yeah, you would. And that's a tough one.
Well timed.
Well times?
'Cause
Oh.
I've got a listing coming.
Oh, you got a listing coming up. Okay. How do I advertise that I'm a top producer in a certain area? Well, the first question is, are you? And who said you were? So you need to say, if you're going to say, Tom Catlin, top producer, top listing agent in Wahlberg, then you need to have the MLS proof, and you need to say, per CTX MLS, ABOR, whatever it is. We had an agent in Round Rock, get a regulatory complaint for advertising that, not saying where. And he's a broker, so I wasn't enjoined. Yes, I'm sorry. Because I told him not to do it.
Specialist or luxury agent.
What does that mean?
You have to have.
Well, there's a designation for that.
Yeah.
So, do you have to have it?
Well, if people are gonna put that on their
I don't know.
advertising and put it on the emails.
I think it would help you if I had the designation. I'm not sure that anybody's going to take any action against you for that, because I don't think that means much. Now, commercial, there's really a significant body of law around advertising that you're a commercial agent if you're not. That one can get you in trouble. Luxury, maybe. I feel a little different about that. To me, I think it's just zeros. Luxury is just zeros. And if you really know how to take care of buyers and sellers, you can do that in any price range. That's my opinion. I understand there are lawyers who don't believe what I believe. I believe it. I think if you're competent, it's just zeros. Now, Russ Phillips could come in and we could go back and forth on that. But he's not going to be here, so I don't have to worry about him hearing me. Hi, Russ, if you're watching. How do I calculate the square footage in a property I'm listing? You don't. That's right. Doesn't a listing agreement give me a power of attorney? Okay, you think I didn't really get these questions? I really do get these questions, you understand. No, it doesn't. It met in some states, but it doesn't here. And
You better have the original.
yes, and if you're going to be a power of attorney, the seller better be related to you, because that's the only way I'll let you do it.
Well, not agents, I'm talking about if you have
Oh, yeah.
a client, I would never.
But to clarify, you're saying that agent asked if the listing agreement was the agent's power of attorney.
That's correct.
Oh, gotcha, oh, that's what she's saying.
Say that again.
The listing agent, this agent was asking me if they had, by getting a listing, that they had then gotten the power of attorney to act for the seller. No. Thank you for telling me that I didn't have that clear enough. Thank y'all for clearing that up so I don't screw it up on Friday.
Where are you doing this on Friday?
At the Minger Hotel,
Oh.
to the Independent Brokers of Texas, whatever that means. I
They're
don't know.
not dependent.
I think they're not franchised. They could be not deep. Anyway, if a lender won't let me rebate out of my commission to the client, how do I do that? How do I do that rebate? The answer is you don't. If it's not going on the HUD statement, you can't do it. Because particularly if the buyer's getting a government-backed loan, which all of them are, you can't give money to the buyer outside of closing. So be careful how you advertise rebates. Be sure that you can offer one by asking the lender before you tell the buyer or seller they're going to get one.
So, too late, but, so I had a client who was building a new house,
Yes.
and he didn't want to get the house inspected, and I said, if you'll inspect it, I'll pay for the inspection. Should I not have done that?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
And I understand there's some litigation in South Austin about that, but it was not that big a deal. So, yes,
Would that be considered a service that you're offering?
could be. If somebody doesn't want an inspection, there's a form for them to sign that says, much more lawyerly than this, I told you to do this and you chose not to. It's a
Which
Texas
also includes
Texas Realtors form.
Septic inspections, pest inspections, because we should never be advising clients to not get a septic inspection, just in any county, anywhere,
Anytime,
anytime.
ever. We just fought that with one of y'all that's not in the room. Just going to tell you that. Told Mary Fitek didn't have to, not going to. I said, Want your license to go back? Where's the best place to put a cancellation clause? Nowhere. Nowhere. Cancellation clause. This offer is only good until Friday at 5 o'clock. No. Don't do that. Don't ever put that anywhere. Just don't do it. If your buyer wants the offer to only stand for a period of time, you find out what that period of time is, put it in your calendar to send the other side the same thing, a withdrawal of offer at that time. You don't put it in, because you'll be, generally speaking, the unauthorized practice of law.
So when you receive an offer that has that in special provisions, what is your?
It doesn't mean anything. But if it were me and the seller and I were meeting, I would suggest to the seller that they strike through that in their counter. And also the same, and this is only 10, so now I know how long it takes to do 10. Where's the best place to put an escalation clause? Nowhere. Escalation clause. My buyer will pay $1,000 more than the best offer you got. That's an unauthorized practice of law. That is not enforceable. It is all kinds of things that you don't want to get involved in.
What's the form that has something similar to that? That's like for conventional lands.
You're talking about
The appraisal addendum? Oh yeah, the appraisal addendum is kind of that. And you know on that one, I don't like A.
Even for seller?
Yeah, A's good for a seller, but it sucks for any buyer. Because in A, you're saying it doesn't matter how low it appraises, we're going to pay the difference. So you got a $350,000 house and it appraises for $275,000. Your buyer's bringing $75,000 to closing. Be sure they understand that.
B is similar.
B is similar, but it puts an amount on it. Puts an end date on it. Okay, I've taken up all your time. Is anybody not staying for the meeting? Everybody staying for the next meeting? Because I bought these. They're going to go up on the 2 spots next to the front door, facing the building. So if you've been parking there, stop it.
This chair is wonky.
Yeah, it's kind of wonky, but you can sit there.
You walked over there pretty well.
Oh, he did? Okay. Get you a quote, okay. I'll follow up with you.
Brian, do we have a second mic? We're going to need that in a little bit.
He just walked out.
Huh?
You almost left us out.
What's going on? Hold on. All right.
They won't mess with you during the day.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Lots of great faces in the audience today. Thank y'all for coming. What's today's day? It's the 28th, right? January 28th. All right, so we're going to get started. Thank you, Avis. That was great risk management and super necessary. A couple of other things. I'm just going to remind you again, limited exposure form is really important. Talked to Mary this morning, and we're still not seeing a lot of those on the listing side of things. So if you're not going to list the property within 24 hours of them executing that agreement or the start date, then you need to have a limited exposure form. If you don't know what that is or where to find it, come see me. I'm happy to help you find that. And you know, going forward, I think Avis will continue to update us on NAR's new policy. We had a town hall yesterday at the association for that. There's a lot of questions surrounding it. So for right now, you know, if you can follow process, that'd be great. Avis.
I want to ask you a question because you had the town hall. I listened to NAR's, about an hour long. They've got a recorded webinar on realtor.org, which is now NAR.realtor also, that you can watch. The problem I have with the webinar is that I get bored and I do things that are on my desk instead of listening. And anyway, I think they said that with proper documentation, a seller could opt out of having their property in MLS.
It does say that. It did say that in the exemption. I think it's exemption 1.3. It talks about that.
And you can exempt your office. Like you can share it only with your office if a broker. We're not going to do that.
That is something that was discussed yesterday as well. So
I listened to that part. I just barely heard the one about seller could opt out.
yeah, so yeah, my question is managing it. So at this level, I think it's best that as long as we're doing our limited exposure and anything else that might come up that maybe the lawyer decides is important, that we be following those instructions. But if we're not even doing the simple task of what already is required, it's going to be challenging to then protect you when NAR comes down. I know there is one association up northeast who is fining their agents $5,000 for the first offense if they have a complaint that something was advertised outside of that policy. So just FYI, these things are coming. We're having these conversations. If you want to know more, attend the town halls, and we will kind of.
The deadline is May the 1st.
Correct.
And it's, if you take a listing and market it anywhere in any capacity, that's the finable offense. Right?
Yes.
Facebook,
Yes. Facebook, anywhere.
And you could say it in this room. You
Yes.
could say it in this room, because that's not a written marketing.
And
we're all the same company.
right. And to layer on that, you can say it in this room if you have a signed listing agreement giving the permission to talk about this listing and a limited exposure, because if you signed a listing agreement and you're talking about in this room, chances are, unless you signed it yesterday, you're already out of your time limit to have a limited exposure form signed and in your loop.
Even if it's not an MLS, you want a limited exposure.
That's correct. Yeah. Best practice is if you know you're not going to list it the next day, just get a limited exposure signed. It mimics it. You just want your client to understand that by even let's say Erica starts advertising a property and Norma says, I have a client, I'd love to show it. Norma goes, shows it. Tom has a client and Erica says, sorry, Tom, I can't show it to your client. She accepts an offer from Norma. Tom finds out all of a sudden Tom's client's like, well, they didn't like me. Why didn't they like me? And then you've got all these other issues. The seller maybe didn't know that they could have gotten a better price if it was actively listed. So best interest of your client is just get it signed if you're not going to list it right away. And if you're talking about it in here, I know you have a signed listing agreement with permission to advertise. Yes, ma'am.
So question, we have our signed listing agreement, we have our signed limited exposure.
Mhm.
So we're not gonna go on MLS for a week. At that point, we cannot put it on, say, Georgetown, pipe
After May
listing.
the 1st, as soon as it goes the way it looks like it goes, you can't market it anywhere
Until it goes on MLS.
until it's on MLS.
Okay.
Yes.
It has to go in MLS in the rule within 1 day.
Okay.
Yes. Nancy.
So they've checked, they don't want to be an MLS on the listing agreement. We have the limited exposure, but we're marketing it. We have a sign in the yard.
Mhm.
And anybody can show it.
Coming soon, sign?
Okay, hold on real quick. We've got a question here. Come on in. So the question on the table is, if we've got a signed agreement and a signed limited exposure.
The signed agreement, the listing agreement has the box checked that we do not want to go into MLS, ever.
Right. Then you cannot, per the policy, from what I'm understanding, you cannot market it. So, okay, we're going to get into the weeds and we got a lot to do today. What I'm going to say is there is an informational piece I can give you from CTX MLS. Every MLS is going to handle this differently because there are systems that they're working on behind the scenes. So the best case scenario right now is to follow office policy until the MLS gets their stuff together. if that makes sense. That's going to be my PC way of saying just whatever Avis is saying is probably is the best way to go, because the MLS is going to give you a bunch of information. You're going to get conflicting information. If you're a member of Highland Lakes, because Highland Lakes likes to review your stuff, you know, and based on the the exclusions, if the seller writes a letter saying that you can exclude it, the MLS needs to see it. And so my question was, is the MLS capable of reviewing all listing agreements as well as sellers' certification that they want it off the market? And so there's a lot of questions. So sounds good to me. Sounds good to me.
I have a meeting scheduled with Keller Roffers on Monday and the head of the Austin Border Realtors on Friday.
Awesome. So, perfect. So Mary just asked for me to, okay. All right, so moving on to some fun stuff, because I know that's fun. All right, kicking off the year. So it's January 28th. Is anyone feeling it? How busy is everyone this month? Busy? Do you feel busier than normal? Yes. Gosh, okay. So I'm feeling that way too. I'm like, man, it's busy. Everyone I talked to, I went to, Stephanie Nash was installed for Women's Council of Realtors Central Texas, and I got to go to her installation. It was awesome. And I saw a bunch of agents that I know up north, and they're like, man, it's so busy, we can't even breathe. So I felt like we could all kind of get a laugh. So listing agents, right, you're probably doing some price reductions. We're 6 months into 2020, and it's still January. Anyone feeling that? Okay, I'm feeling that. All right. Absolutely. Okay, and so the next one is, what day is it again? January is like a Monday, but longer. Anyone feeling that? No, Tom? You like Mondays? Yeah. As an agent, I used to take Mondays off because I was like, I mean, the rest of the week is awesome. You just take a Monday off, right? No one's mad on a Tuesday. Everything's great. The next one, eat a cookie, move on. Today I'll live in the moment unless it's unpleasant, in which case I'll eat a cookie. For those of us who are working really hard on those New Year's resolutions, right? This is the challenge. We have Tips Treats, and we have Girl Scout cookies going on, right? I can't. How many people have been buying Girl Scout cookies? They made a lot of money off of me. Tom, oh, all right. The next one, almost there. January's a tough year, but we made it. So the best news is next week is February. And even though it is a leap year, right? So we have one extra day. Hopefully it'll feel like it's going much faster than January. So anyways, I thought you guys would enjoy a laugh. All right, and here's where I start to make you dizzy. So welcome. Is there any new guests in the room that haven't joined us yet? All right. Okay, all familiar faces. So we have a lot of new agents that have joined us in the last, and I say new agents, we have a lot that have been in production that are coming to us from all kinds of different brokerages, out of state. So say hello if you get a chance. Shake their hand. They may come to you and say, hey, can I have lunch? That's something we encourage. You know, ask a producer out to lunch and just ask them how they do their business. So if they do, maybe, huh? Make them pay. All right.
I did that with Russ Phillips, actually.
Yeah?
He did make me pay. It was a good conversation.
Yeah, I bet. And Phil's been doing that, right? Have you learned all kinds of different things? And I bet one of the best things you've learned is that everyone does it differently, right? There's no right or wrong. Just get out there and do it, right?
And also, you know, because Lauren sends out an email
Yes.
that says, hey, these are the new people. You know, if you just click on their email, you know, and just take 2 seconds and say, hey, welcome, because I tried to do this, you know, welcome to KW Georgetown family, you know, if I can ever be of assistance, let me know, da, da, da. So they really appreciate that.
They
I
do.
get a lot of responses back saying, hey, thank you.
Yes, and when I meet with them to set their goals, they're like, oh, I got an email from Megan, or I got an email from Norma. They'll tell me what's going on. So thank y'all who are doing that. And if you get a chance, do it. They really appreciate it. And these are people who hopefully you'll be in business alongside for a long time. So I don't know how many of you have heard, possibly you've seen a lot of the emails come through, but this year at Family Reunion, Simon Sinek will be one of the main speakers. Has anybody read any of his books? Okay, so I'm going to give you a little background on him if you don't know who he is. So he is described as a visionary thinker with rare intellect, and I think you'll see some of this in the video. He has devoted his professional life to help advance the vision of the world that does not yet exist. A world in which the vast majority of people wake up every single morning inspired, feel safe at work, and they return home fulfilled at the end of the day. He's the author of 5 books, Start With Why, How Great Leaders Inspire Everyone to Take Action, a global bestseller. Leaders Eat Last, Why Some Teams Pull Together and Others Don't. Together is Better, a little book of inspiration, and Find Your Why, a practical guide to discovering purpose. And his latest book, The Infinite Game, which I haven't read. Has anybody read The Infinite Game yet? I hear it's awesome. So anyways, so I wanted to set up the video with a couple of things. So first, he's talking about impact. And in the video, he talks about it as like an employer-employee relationship. He's talking to young entrepreneurs who are building startups and going to hire employees. But he's talking about it at a leadership level. What I want you to think when he's talking is about how you are that for your clients, for your family, for your coworkers, for your team, if you are running a team. How does it fit with you? And I found this poem that I thought was really, really good about impact. And it really fits with not just the video, but the producers that are going to come up today and share with you how their business has worked through repeat referrals. That it's about impact and it's about relationships. So this poem I just found online, the name, it's called One, and the person who wrote it, Shawnee Kelly, that's a name, Shawnee Kelly, anyways. So it says, one word can spark a moment, one flower can wake the dream, one tree can start a forest, one bird can herald spring, one smile can bring a friendship, one hand clasp can lift a soul. One star can guide a ship at sea. One cheer can obtain a goal. One vote can change a nation. One sunbeam can lift a room. One candle wipes out darkness. One laugh will conquer gloom. One look can change 2 lives. One kiss can make love bloom. One step must start each journey. One word must start each prayer. One hope can raise our spirits. One touch can show you care. One voice can speak with wisdom. One heart can know what's true. One life can make a difference. One life is me and you. So I hope that through the video and through the panel that you hear today, you see that selling real estate is much more than slinging houses. I mean, it's a fun, challenging environment, but it's so much more about building relationships and impacting the lives around you. So I'm going to warn you real quick, the video is 14 minutes long. That'll get us right up to the panel. So hunker down, get comfy for those high Ds. I apologize, it's a little long, but there is a lot of good information in it, all right? So, all right.
Oh, that's right.
Everything you want. Instant gratification. Except job satisfaction and strength of relationships, there ain't no after that. They are slow, meandering, uncomfortable, messy processes. And so I keep meeting these wonderful, fantastic, idealistic, hardworking
Okay, I'm gonna give this, can y'all share this between the two of you for all the folks at home? Or hopefully not driving, but maybe pulled over in the car watching. We have a lot of people watching online today. There you are.
Okay.
So combined, this panel has done over $53 million in closed transactional volume just in 2020 alone. So I would say they.
I would love to do that.
Or sorry,
Yeah.
2019.
We are good.
I did good.
I'm going to play poker today now.
Sorry, 2019. So if y'all ladies will start and just say who you are. I know that I announced y'all, but for some of those in the room who may not know you, and then maybe how long you've been in business.
I'm Nancy Knight. This is my 28th year in real estate.
Megan Turnipseed. This is my 12th year in the business. Got in right out of college and was, I guess, helping to make this from a business center to a market center. So I'm really happy to have the experience here in the office.
I'm Rita Snyder in 1984, and I'll let you count.
Hi, Norma Carlton, 17 years, and I do want to say that I left KW for a short, possible year and a half, and I came running back.
We're glad to have you
doesn't
back.
count.
So I'm going to ask them some questions, and at the end, I'll open up to y'all if you guys want to ask questions of them or kind of dig deeper onto a subject. So first thing, what's one thing that you do consistently to nurture your database? Whoever wants to start.
Well, not to, play into this, but honestly, just doing the consistent follow-up that Never-Ending Referrals instigated with the database too. I think that was really instrumental in making sure you've got a really easy way to kind of chunk it down each week, whether it's making calls, following up in person, social media, notes, as long as you are doing something consistently throughout the year, I think that's really what matters.
It's not just one thing, just like he said. And I use Top Producer. I've been using it for 20 years, and I didn't want to change over. But it's that consistency of, I send out recipe cards, I do pop buys. I've never made a cold call. 28 years in business, I have never made a cold call. But I have developed my base. And you start with anybody who can call you by name when they see you. That's your start right there. And I don't remember the exact quote from Maya Angelou, but it's not what you do for people, it's how you make them feel. And that's my philosophy of how I start.
And I think to expand on what she's talking about, it starts from the very first time you meet them. That's when the nurturing starts. And so as far as social media goes, I'm not a big social media person, but let me tell you, I have Facebook down. So, and I do a lot of nurturing, I think, also kind of through Facebook, because I do like a Good Morning from Carlton Farms every morning. So anybody that's on my Facebook, and it's amazing because, and you want to be encouraging and inspirational, and I think all of those things are nurturing as well.
So I'm going to step out of the box because I'm very unconventional. I have put together my database in the last couple of years on Word. I printed it out, and I add to it maybe once every couple of months. But for example, most of my clients have become very good friends of mine. And I'll just give you a quick example. I had an elderly couple that I've sold their home and their children's homes. And when I sold their home that they loved, they had some really cool antique chairs from Chile that they brought over. And I bought those chairs at their antique auction or at their estate auction, and I had them redone. And when I had them redone, I invited the whole family over for an unveiling of their chairs. So, just things like that, I think. And I'm going actually to the Shen Yun concert with another client that it's invited me this weekend. So it's not that I do consistent, and I do pop buys, but more of the ones that I really like to stay in touch with, and they'll reach out to me as well. So
I also want to say, especially if I am working with a buyer that is new to the area, that I say to them, I'm going to be your first friend here. And you take them out to lunch. I have a list of, when they move here, they need a vet, they need a hairdresser, they need a dentist, they need a florist. So, have your list together, be there to be their support system until they make friends, and, know what their interests are, and, integrate them into those activities and volunteer opportunities in the community, and be there with them.
Thank you. So the second one, do you have a follow-up system for the referral and the referrer?
Oh, okay. I have a system for everything. I do gift cards. I do a $50 gift card for any referral that I get. And, I try to know who my client is, or the person referring to me, if they have a favorite restaurant or they like to read, would like a gift card from a bookstore. And it's a thank you note. And it's when I get the referral, not when I close it. I'm thanking them for thinking of me, remembering me, and
I'll reiterate what you said. I mean, a lot of things are personalized to the client and individual, depending on the situation. The biggest thing is acknowledging it, thanking them, and making sure you're clear with them on what you're going to be able to do for that person and how you're going to be able to help them in the next steps, so that they know that it's not just going kind of down a black hole. They know what they're going to hear about.
Awesome.
Yeah, and mine's the same way, although I have personalized postcards that I have for thank you cards with my information on it, but it also has the thank you kind of blurb, and I'll send it out to just people, even if they don't refer someone to me, that thank them for thinking of me, basically. So that's kind of what I do as well.
For referrals, I like to be a little bit more
Personal. I mean, I will actually call them if somebody gives my name, and lots of times they'll call you and say, hey, I gave your name to so-and-so. So, and then what I'll do is I'll keep the person who's referring someone to me, I'll kind of keep them in the loop. I'll say, hey, we're going to close next week, or whatever the case may be. And I think that they really appreciate that, because they kind of want to know what's going on. They're thinking, I gave you a referral, I'd kind of like to know where it is. And not only that, after we do close, I want to do if they live in the area, I want to do a personal touch. So I will want to meet them for coffee, or meet them for lunch, or a glass of wine, or something like that. So I try to really kind of nurture them also through the process.
And how would you follow up if the referral doesn't answer their phone, or maybe isn't ready to have a conversation? How do you follow up with that person?
I would leave a voicemail, and then I'll try them again later. And I learned this in one of the classes, when you leave a voicemail, so that way they don't feel compelled that they have to call you back, or I'll just say, hey, I'll call you again in a couple of days. Okay. And if I don't get them, I don't get them, but I do try, because I do think that personal touch, voice to voice or face to face.
That's the 3-attempt approach from Never Ending Referrals. So you just give them a call and you say, hey, I'm so sorry I missed you. I'll give you a call back tomorrow at 2. You give them a call. They don't answer. You don't leave a message. And then you call them back a few days later and say, hey, I'm sorry I missed you again. We keep missing each other. I'll give you a call back in a month or so just to check in. Right. So thank you. That's awesome. Anybody else?
Same thing.
Yeah, well, and part of my message is, if I would like to hear from you if you don't want to work with me, or you're not interested in moving forward, so I'm not continuously bothering you.
Okay, so what is the largest number of referrals you've been given from one relationship?
My average is kind of 5.
5?
5-ish. It seems like when I build those relationships, and I guess over the course of 17 years, so usually it's at least 5.
At least 5.
I've got one that connected me to probably about 9 to 12, and it's still going.
Yeah,
that's great.
A lot.
Yeah, probably at least, 4+ million.
Yeah, in production.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think, over all these years, it's just ongoing, so I can't really count, because everything that I do is from some of those early referral
And the calls just
references.
Right? You'll get a call and be like, well, you sold my mom's house. And so I was figuring, right?
Right.
So you get the experience of building that relationship and being able to carry it on to even the next generation.
Well, you definitely want to be.
You're selling the parents and the grandparents and the kids. And
Exactly, the family realtor.
Exactly.
Right. That's wonderful.
Wonderful. And so how have referrals impacted your business and then also your personal life?
Well, I'm at 100% referral business, and I have been for about 15 years. So, and I'll give an example. And this was like my 4th client that I had. They were newlyweds, and they were first-time home buyers, and I sold them a house. And then when they got divorced, they called me, and I sold the house, and I sold one of them another house. And I lost touch with Adrienne, and she tracked me down like 10 years later. She'd put her life back together, and she was ready to buy, and we sold her a house. And then she called me like 3-4 years, and we were in touch. I mean, I'm still doing all of my, contact management stuff with her. Says she's getting married, and they're going to sell her house, they're going to sell his house, and they're going to buy another house together. And so that's a relationship. And we're not in the sales business, we're in the relationship business if you want referrals. That's 100% true.
I would say it's affected me in the way that the referrals are a lot more effective and rewarding. So effective in the way that you're a lot more productive with smaller amounts of communication, relationships. It just compounds and builds upon itself as long as you're doing the right things, you have the right knowledge and experience, and you're conveying the right message. And then on the rewarding side, I would say being able to have people seeking you out, having people that are wanting to pay you and not just you're having that conversation and challenging that, and having people making sure that they're trying to they want you to succeed, and seeing that is probably one of the coolest things.
So I think mine is related to the trust factor, that the people that refer people to you, you know they trust you, and you know that they're not going to, call somebody for information because they know that they can trust that you have that information for them. And it really cuts down on a lot of work that you would have to do if you didn't know this person. So really the workload is less, and it's absolutely more rewarding at that point. Yeah. So.
And I'm with Nancy. I mean, my entire 17-year career has been really much based on referrals. And like Rita was saying, when you work with someone, first of all, you care, and you do, because like she said, this is a relationship, it's a people business. I'm not really a numbers person, so if you ask me off the, how many houses did you sell last year, which some people don't like, you know what, I'd really have to go back and check. But I can tell you all of the people that I worked with. I can possibly tell you, when I watch somebody's dog and, they chewed on my shoe or whatever the case may be. I've painted people's house, people's doors. I've mowed their grass. I've watched their kids. I'm just kidding. But when people know that you care and that they can trust you, then they are going to refer you out. And 99% of the time somebody refers you out, you have the job before you even make that phone call.
That's right.
And that's powerful.
How has it opened up your free time having referrals instead of being in the hustle? There's a lot of new agents out here, some that don't have databases that are building, and even agents who maybe haven't worked their database in some time. How does it free up your personal time to be with family or friends or vacationing? What has that done for you?
Well, that's time management. And yeah, I have my couple hours in the morning and some in the afternoon. I don't have a set block of time because I can reach different people at different times of day depending on, what their schedules are. And I plan vacations. I already have 4 vacations planned for this year. I know I need that break to not burn out. So you've got to do that. It's really important.
Well, I just got back from vacation, so yeah, so it definitely helps. Leveraging in other places of your business is absolutely essential. Time management, getting help if you're at that point in your business, and making sure you have the leverage to make sure your clients are taken care of if you want to, go and play. One of the other things, though, I will say, once you shift from that, I guess, being more in the grind to getting some more referral business, I still feel very uncomfortable, as in some of the activities that I'm used to doing and I expect myself to do don't yield the same type of results as the referral-based business. And so it's a different dynamic, and making sure that you're focused on what's more effective. And it reminds me of when I was going through and like throwing spaghetti on the wall of what lead generation activities actually mattered. And I'm like, oh, okay, these things actually mattered. So it's just pulling those activities out that make the most use of your time and bring you the most amount of money.
And joy.
Yes, and joy.
Yeah, and that's one thing too. I'm one of those though that's kind of a workaholic, so I have a difficult time when I go on vacation to leave it all behind. So I typically don't leave it all behind, and that's my issue, not my client's issue, but I want to be there for them. I don't want them to think that they are going to have to wait 3 or 4 days to hear back from me. So I still haven't really crossed that bridge of letting it all go when I'm on vacation. I still am there for them when they call. I do vacation. I enjoy my vacation. I play poker. I watch my phone and make phone calls when I'm at the poker table, so it's all fun.
Yeah, she does. I think some advice I have for some of the new people in the room, or even some of the more experienced people in the room, let everyone you've ever known, everyone you know, everyone you will meet, what you do. So I think that that's the first, I mean, because, you know, always wear a name tag. Of course, I have it on my truck, but I think that that is the first step. You definitely want to make sure that anyone and everybody who ever knows me. I was walking down County Road 388 the other day, and we were 2 streets down, and I said, well, we introduced ourselves, and I said, well, I'm Norma Cross. She goes, oh, that's right, you're the realtor that lives over there. I've heard about a realtor that lives over there. So again, you just let everybody know what you do. And in regards to vacation, when I get ready to go on vacation, and I will tell you that this last vacation to Greece was just amazing, and I was gone for 12 days. But what I did, one of the things I did to make it so amazing for me and my clients and everybody else is that I assigned an agent, a partner agent, and we have all of us in this room. Like you're going to take care of this client, you're going to take care of that client. So every client knew that they had an agent, and I didn't bombard one agent with all the clients. I had like 12 agents, and that was the first time I did that, and that was huge. I can tell you that I did very, very little work on vacation. So.
And I'd like to say about setting expectations and letting people know, you know, I let them know I don't really work Sundays, but, you know, if a house comes up, if there's an urgency, we're in the middle of negotiating something, I will be there, you know, but, you know, just to, same thing with my hours. You know, if we're in the middle of negotiating a contract, yeah, I'm up till 10 o'clock maybe going back and forth on email. But if it's not urgent, my business day is 9 to 6, period. And if you just let people know how you work, they will be respectful of that, just the way they are of their CPA, their doctor, their attorney. You know, they don't call them at all hours.
So where did you find your first client?
Oh, dear God.
First client.
My first client was a fellow sorority alumna when I was 4 months into the business, and everything, I got my license in October of 2008, and so this was January of 2009, and she had a home that wasn't doing anything over in Katy Crossing, and she had me list it, and we were able to get a cash deal within 3 days. So that I was very fortunate that the down market did not scare me due to that situation.
I love it.
Awesome. So I worked for, when I didn't have my license yet, but I was managing a property management business, and I got my license during that time, and I sold, at the time, the banks let you manage foreclosed properties, because it was all foreclosure here. There was
Really not much that was not. So we were managing foreclosure properties, and I was also able to sell a bank property after I got my license that the tenants wanted to buy, and I loved it. And then that's when I went to Sendero Real Estate.
My first client 17 years ago, I had actually just left the Keller Williams office in Round Rock because that's where I started, and I was going home. I had a class for the day. My sister calls me because she's working for a tech company, and I guess that there was a family there. Their realtor did not show up. They had 1 week here to look for a house, relocating from England. And their realtor, they could never get a hold of their agent. So my sister calls me, she goes, I have these people that they want to buy a house, and they have 3
hours before they have to get on the plane to go back to England. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. I don't know these people. I have 3 hours to take them somewhere. I took them to Barron's Ranch because the day before I was there, I knew all the salespeople, so I said, okay, we met at McDonald's, took them over to Barron's Ranch, and sold them that house, a to-be built. We picked out the lot, we picked out the plan, and then, we put it all together, and in fact, they still live in that house today.
Oh, wow.
In Barron's Ranch, and I am still in contact with them. So, yeah.
So, things were a lot different in 1993. We had a book that came out every 2 weeks with all the listings. Our phones were like the size of shoeboxes. And we had a lot of walk-ins at that time. And I hadn't been in business but about a month, and this couple walked in, and they saw for sale by owner that they had gone to an open house, and they wanted to buy it. We worked that out, and then I also ended up selling the for sale by owner a house. And I was like, oh, this is going to be great. This is going to be so easy.
Did you say 94?
93.
93. 94 is the first agency disclosure law. So she was right before she had to say, I represent
somebody. Somebody.
But I worked for the great Judy Shanklin, so we were really trained.
So questions. Who has questions for these amazing agents up here? Scott?
So Simon talked about consistency, which really aligns a lot with where Gary talks about being purposeful. What are some habits, or what's a habit that you avoided early on and then eventually realized, okay, I really need to do this?
Making phone calls.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I
am leery because, I don't want to sound like, oh, I'm just calling for business, so. But when you really do care about people, that comes across. And everybody is in the business. I mean, if I want to stay in the business, and most of my people in my database actually also want me to stay in the business. So, yeah, but it is the phone calls.
So early on, I was very disoriented, and it was very difficult. But the last, 15 years of being here, at Keller, it's been 15 years now, I think, I don't know, long time. So I think my most effective mode right now of contacting my clients is having that list in my car, and every quarter I'll go buy something for that season. Like I'm about to go buy little sweethearts for, people with kids, and have my card just taped on it and drop it at their door. And it's the easiest thing to do. Half the time they're not home, you can leave it on their doorknob, and they love it. In fact, Thanksgiving, I delivered pumpkins, and one of my clients posted on Facebook that, look what my realtor left at my front door. She's the greatest person in the world, or, something like that. And she posted the pumpkin. So things like that have been more effective for me lately, and then just doing something with those people.
I'm just not atypical. I was raised in a family business that we were on the phone. I've been on the phone since I'm 14 years old. But paperwork is my demon.
Joseph?
That sounded like a question of what are you saying yes to at this point? What have you learned to say no to?
I really qualify people. Motivation is really important, and I kind of label them A, B, C leads, and more attention goes to A than to C,
I guess I kind of went in a different direction with the way that you asked that. For me, the things that I'm saying no to, things I'm saying no to are the things that are draining my energy, the things that bring me down, the things that don't push me forward, because I've realized that in this industry, there's so much that we put out to be there for people. You need to make sure you're taking care of yourself. And it's been really hard for me to figure that out, and this last year or two, I think, was really integral in that.
I love referring out. I can tell you that referral check is so much nicer to get if you know that that client is not going to be somebody that you might, not be able to work with easily, and some other people can. So I definitely refer out.
I'm with Rita. especially if you're working with a client and they're very high maintenance and you just kind of feel that it's not good, it's not really clicking, I would just rather get out. Now, I will let the other agent know, hey, do you really want this? I'm just going to warn you, it's a little high maintenance, you know.
Megan took one for me one time.
Barely.
Does anybody know King Bravo in the room?
Yes.
Ask him.
Yes.
He will probably never take another. Just to make a long story short, the closing took him all day. The clients I gave him went from 8 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock at night. But I still got a check. I mean, he was still kind enough to give me my referral fee. I know. So,
I was going to say, really develop your qualifying questions. And in the first 5 minutes of conversation, if you can't find that point of commonality with them, it's probably going to be a tough transaction.
and then I think just one more thing to add on to what these ladies have already said. I actually have it in my email, my office hours. And, like Monday through Friday, and then Saturday, and then Sundays are reserved for faith and family. It really amazes me how many people actually see that. And so I'm letting them, you're setting the expectations and boundaries. So I think that that's important.
One more question. We touched on it a little bit, but would you say percentage-wise, what, you said 100% of your business is referral. What would you say your percentage of referrals is?
Last year it was probably 15 to 20%, and it's probably almost doubled this last year.
I'm not a numbers person either, so I would say probably 90 to 95% are referrals for me.
Same thing, 90 to 95.
And then a follow-up question, at what point do you feel like within the number of years that you have been in business that tipped to that percentage?
So I started over a couple of times. I had a management business years ago that I owned and had for 3 years and sold that. And then when I came to Keller Williams, I basically started over because my business was all like out of state, investors, and I really didn't know where to start. I did pretty much 90% leasing that first year, and then that's when it started to kind of turn, when I started connecting with people saying I'm in residential sales again or whatever, you need. And so it probably took me about 2 to 3 years getting back to connecting with people and producing what I wanted to produce again.
For me, it was about 5 years ago when I had in my plan I was going to be semi-retired when I turned 60, and all this business just started falling in my lap. I wasn't going to work at it, and it just kept coming. So I was like, well, okay, I guess I'll continue. I still love this.
Probably year 7 to 9 would be a lot of things that are turning over, like almost natural with repeat clients selling homes a couple times over, and you'll start seeing that a little bit more frequent was kind of my
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd like to give you one tip that's really come back to me, and it was something I actually got at a CRS class in 1997, and it's called a reticular activator letter. And what I do is at the first of the year, I send out to everybody that has bought or sold a home from me that year. We send out a letter, and what your reticular activator is like when you buy a new car, all of a sudden you see everybody driving that model vehicle, or when you're pregnant, all of a sudden you notice all these pregnant people. And it's asking people who know you to remind them to refer you when they hear a conversation about real estate. And we send that out with their settlement statement because we know they've moved and maybe they've misplaced that, so they have a copy for their accountant. And just kind of just a really nice one-page letter with that, and it's so appreciated. And I get so many calls on that.
One last thing, just to touch on that as well. When you're asking and you're talking about these referrals and asking for business, don't be vague. Be specific. Be specific on what you're asking for. Do you like to work leases? Do you like to work listings? Do you like to work in just Georgetown? Make sure you're telling people all the different things. If it's not specific. List all those different things. Make sure they know exactly the situations where they can think of you. There's so many times I think we leave it really vague, and the public may not know all the details of what we can offer. So make sure you're really, really clear on that.
Can we get a round of applause for these amazing Thank you, ladies, so much. If I can have your permission to go 5 minutes over, is that okay with everyone? We just have a few announcements, and we're going to have the sponsor speak. Are we good? Okay. All right. So the next couple of announcements that I have, I'm going to go quickly through them. Obviously, if you haven't checked out our calendar, georgetowntraining.com, the link is there. If you want to look, we've updated all the way through March, so check it out. February's jam-packed with stuff. The next one, this afternoon from 2:30, and it's actually to 4:30, not 4, so 2:30 to 4:30. Marty Miller will be here to teach you how to use Command to make money. So if that's something you're interested in starting, again, the technology aspect, you've heard that all 4 of those agents did business in a different way. Some of them with technology, some of them without technology or their own use of technology. There's no right or wrong. If this is something you're interested in, it's a great class to be at. The next one, the social media machine, Capital Title will be teaching that from 10 a.m. to noon on Thursday. So if you want to know how to use social media, great class to be at. Another note is Super Bowl Builders. For those of you who have clients that are looking for a new build, or maybe you're new to the area, or you just want to see what the difference is of builders, there's 40 builders going to be at the Dell Diamond February 4th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. It's next Tuesday. It is during team meeting time. I would encourage you to attend, especially if you're trying to figure out who are the local builders, what incentives do they offer. If you have a client that's challenged by finding the right builder, you can take them and introduce them to 40. So there's that. And then the next one is February. So we have Market Center Awards. This is going to go out here. You have gotten an Eventbrite, I believe, Rachel. Does the Eventbrite go out? Okay. Yeah. So it is Tuesday, February 11th from 9 a.m. to noon at the Williamson County Association of Realtors. And there will be food provided. So it's going to be a great time and lots of space, so you don't have to, it was a little tight last year. So if you want to bring someone special with you, bring them. We'd love to have them. Please RSVP. Right after that, this is important if you want to start moving your stuff into Command Ops, which is Command Opportunities, which will be our new dot loop over time. Mary Fytek Zumwalt will be here in person. I'm super excited, love her. Okay, immediately following the award, she'll be introducing you to the Command Ops process. This is not for everyone. If you are not ready, you don't have to do it. I'm okay with that. Take a breath, it's okay. This is the same Tuesday, Tuesday the 11th, right after the awards. So it'll be 12 to 1:30. 12 to 1:30, immediately following. Round Rock agents will be joining us as well. So if you have friends over there, I'm sure most of you do. They're a family, so you'll be able to see them and give them hugs. Anyways, it's a great time, and this is a great time to learn kind of what's going on and coming for you to start learning Command Ops. The next is Family Reunion is the 15th through the 18th of February. Almost all of the staff will be in Dallas at this time. Cameron is going to work on, is on the ALC, and she's going to work on live broadcasting all of the main events. So we will have a schedule for you, and Rachel will be working with her on flyers, so you can, if you want to come and attend here in the training room, that'll be available for you. The Mardi Gras party is coming up. It's $75 for a table of 8. This is a client appreciation party. So the goal is you buy however many tables, you invite all your clients, and it is a phenomenal time. As soon as I get the video for it, I will show it for those of you who have never been in attendance. Avis.
Diane was leaving a while ago and she ran by the office. I forgot what she said. She had made so many meat pies and so much something else.
Okay.
So she tell you that gumbo, that was it.
Yes,
and, don't forget to tell everybody about that. And you should go. You should go. It's
yes,
fun.
absolutely. So get your table now, because at some point there will not be tables left. So I know Realtor Classic realtor
Last minute.
MO is, yeah, last minute. So don't be last minute. Get them now. Invite all your clients, friends, family, people at church, you name it, invite them. We'd love to have them. So any listings? Megan.
We've got a few tracts of land out in Florence, really close to 183, they're gonna be 20 and 30 acre tracts, little to no known restrictions. I'm getting all those details so that that will be available from the title company. We're looking at 20 and 30 acres and pricing between 250 and 350 for those, and there's different variations.
Thank you. Trish?
No,
sorry.
no, there's no trees.
Did you have any more?
There's a few, but.
Did you have any more?
No.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay. Trish?
Brian has a listing going live tomorrow.
Okay.
It's 632 Estates of Brushy Creek. It's in Hutto. It is a rare property in that it's on about 4 acres, and it's like nestled in neighborhoods, so you never know it's back in there. You can add cattle and horses, and beautiful piece of property. It's going for $499. The house is 2,700 square feet. It's a 4.3.
Norma.
FM 972, which is past the Olive Ranch, probably about 6 miles heading toward Granger. 142 acres on Willis Creek, about 2,500 feet of road frontage on 972, Granger ISD, no deed restrictions. We're gonna list it for $2 million.
Anyone else? Listings? Nancy.
I have 402 East 8th Street, which will be coming on later this week. It's a 2-bedroom, 1.5 bath, right, 4 blocks from the square. And it was actually a property that had gotten burned down, and this was built in 1991, so to look like an old house, it'll be $375.
Awesome. Cameron.
I have a coming soon. It's super soon now. Goal is beginning of March. It's a 2.5 bath in Hutto.
Okay.
Currently has a cornfield behind it. It's just beautiful, and they've updated the kitchen and some other upgrades, and it's.
Do you have a price point?
Yeah. Sorry. 220.
You're good. 220. Hutto. 3.2. You said.
3.5.
3.5. Awesome. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I have a 4-bedroom, 2-bath in Crystal Crossing, which is just off of 183A and 183 off of Crystal Parkway. Went live yesterday. Already had 4 showings.
Wow. Awesome.
1,752 square feet, and it's 275.
Price reductions. It's January. I know some of y'all will be doing that. We're holding on until spring. All right. Buyer needs. Any unicorns that's out there requests. All right. Oh, yes,
We have a
ma'am.
buyer need either Texas Traditions or Villages of Riverbend.
What do you need?
I need at least, well, a 2-bedroom, under 250.
I'm about to sneeze. Jessica with D.R. Horton, you are on. Thank you for your patience.
So we'll be at the Super Bowl of Builders as well, so you can see D.R. Horton, meet some of us there if you don't get to know us too much. But hi, Jessica Poe over here. I know some of you guys, I haven't met some of you all, so please come visit us. Has anyone been to the Lively Ranch before on the west side? Trees, right? It's phenomenal. If you have not been there, please stop by, at least explore the community. When you see it, you're going to fall in love with it. It's a beautiful spot. We have homes from $250 all the way up to about the mid 400s now. We just released our 70-foot wide lots. They're all backed up to parkland with no one behind you. There's 2 particular lots that are my personal favorites. They haven't started yet, but they actually oversee a pond down the hill, and it's just going to be phenomenal when we build out in the future. So that's 3 more garages inside there. And if you've been to our Emerald series in the past, it's actually a hybrid of that for our neighborhood, the 70-foot series. So frameless shower doors, 8-foot doors all on the main floor. We really went all out on them. And 3-car garages. Can't beat that. But I have the list. Oh, yes, question?
Do you have lots that are big enough for a pool, and are you on the walk trail?
There's no walking trail inside the community, but we leave HOA parkland scattered throughout the neighborhood, so we keep the trees around everyone. But there are some lots that can fit some pools. Just depends, again, city codes, all that stuff. We have some that have some good easements inside there, so you can have that flexibility. We've had 2 already buy that for that reason. So it's not bad. But we also include in our community a pool, fitness center, and clubhouse. And we're Georgetown for our address in Liberty Hill ISD with natural gas. Big Plus, and AT&T fiber. You can't. That's almost impossible for both in Georgetown. But I have my list of all of our homes right now. Again, it's a select ones. We have some more that are not on the list. But you can kind of see again price range from our 50-foot, 60-foot, and 70-foot wide lots. So it's all over the place. We got some goodies going on for quick move-ins for 3 cars, which are getting really hard to find in Georgetown as well. But I have a hot potato bar for you guys to enjoy. Yeah, how to kind of mix it up a little bit healthy, get a little bit more.
How much are the HOA fees?
$67 a month. Not bad for the area, and we're in the very first phase out of 6 or 7. So equity long term is going to be fantastic out of 1,100 homes in the end. So if you get into the first phase, again, think of the long term. It's beautiful.
Tax rate over there?
We're 2.97. We are in a municipal utility district number 2, but we're still lower than 3. We'll take that anytime.
Jessica's gonna hang out outside here, please, ask her questions again. Super Bowl of Builders is next week.
Yep.
And so you wanna get to her before all the other 500 agents that go to that do. So enjoy lunch, thank you, Jessica, thank you to the agents. Y'all have a fantastic week, and may your February be short.
Long, some of us are older.
No.